Hi, everybody. This is SEO with Bowtie Joe. It's Thursday noon, so you're having lunch. And this is the Lunch and Learn session, and I hope you're having something good and enjoying yourself. We're here. Alex is running the show from behind. Say hello, Alex.
Hello, everyone.
We hope you're having an absolutely great day. We were so excited to see how many of you from last week sent us messages, sent us notes, sent in for the free offer that we had done that was at the end of the session. I won't repeat what that is now, but if you stay to the end, there's an amazing, absolutely, I think it's like 200, 300 bucks. It's something that we charge like $300 for, and we give it to them for free if they stay to the end.
Yes.
Is that right? About 300? So we had a number of people that took us up on that. But the most important thing was there were a number of people who started sending questions and saying, hey, when you talked about this last week, that was great. I have a few other questions, or we have more questions, and that's what this is all about, is just prompting questions, getting information out there, getting education in your hands so you can use it. And I think today is going to be one of those sessions that literally you would be able to take what we're going to talk about here, and you could start applying it literally today. Last week you could have done that too, but this week's going to be a little bit more like hands-on, things that you can do and things that you can use. So let's see how that goes. Today is about content. Now, content sometimes may sound like it's a boring subject, but it really isn't, because the content we're talking about is how to use your web page content to make Google happy. And if you make Google happy, then they sort of reward you by like raising you up in the rankings. And almost every question that we get, I mean, almost without exception, we get questions all the time about, you know, how do I make my site go higher in the rankings? Well, it isn't your site. We talked about this last week. The only thing you can rank is a page on your website. So what you're doing is, and most people focus on their index page, the home page. So what you want to do is make sure that your home page is doing all the right things. We're going to talk about some of that today, and also some about that in the next week. But in terms of ranking, what you're looking for is you're looking to rank, basically you're looking to rank content. So here's kind of the key, and I'm going to try and take this in the way people ask questions. Now, since content is the key thing that you want to focus on, you want to think about answering a question. I know that kind of sounds simple and very obvious, but here's what I mean. The person who is going to be sending or doing a search in a search inquiry, like in a Google browser, maybe you like Bing in a Bing browser, or any of the other 133 search engines that are out there, you're going to enter a search term. Well, the search term that you enter, or that your customers, more importantly for you, are entering, they have something in mind. What you need to be doing is writing content that addresses what you think they're entering in to those search examples. Now, we talked about this a little bit last week. Long tail keywords are not a single word. They're a group of words that make up kind of a sentence, and it's called a long tail key term. You can find out just exactly how those terms are ranking. You remember we talked about this last week. And by the way, if you need the notes from last week because for some reason you didn't see it, or you didn't get the copy, send us an email. Just send it to Bowtie Joe.
Joe, actually, I will.
Oh, yeah, you'll put the link on
I
there.
actually have that right here. What I'll do is I will post that for people right here in the chat box.
Perfect.
So that people can download that quickly and have that in their browser or in their downloads area so that they can read them at another time.
Well, that's excellent. Because what I was going to say was, it's called Google Keyword Planner. Now, we're not here to talk about how to use different tools and things. You can literally go into your Google browser and just type in how to use Google Keyword Planner, how to use Google Keyword Planner, and it'll take you through a couple of easy steps. It's really that simple. But there, you could actually take that term that you think people are sort of entering into a search query to find you or to find your products and services. You can see how many people are actually doing that. You can see what people are thinking, and it'll even give you suggestions on maybe what you weren't thinking that people are thinking when they type in these things. It's a fantastic tool, and it's a starting point. We talked about establishing keywords and putting those things together last week, you'll remember. So anyway, now the other thing that I want to make sure that we talk about too, with regard to content, buzzwords. Try to make sure that when you are writing content that you stay away from buzzwords, things that are a little bit more technical. Like when I said SERP and I then said search engine rank page. Well, if I just said SERP, that's a buzz term. It might confuse some people. Many of you probably know what it is, but those of you who have never been involved in this, it might seem like a confusing statement. So try and stay away from buzz terms as best as you can. Now, content effectiveness is what this is all about, everything we're talking about. So don't try and be poetic. Don't try and be, amazingly proper. Just talk to people. Answer questions, and that's what Google's looking for. As a matter of fact, I took a quote, if I may, I'm going to read this quote. This came right out of one of Google's pages that says, Google has made it crystal clear they will always favor content that is valuable to search queries, the things that are typed into the search bars, over content that is written primarily to rank in Google pages. Now, most of us, we're always thinking about doing both. We want to make sure that we're writing to answer questions, but we also think, gosh, I want to write so that Google will be happy and they'll rank me higher. You can't think that way because they see through all of that stuff, believe me. They have every mathematical algorithm you can imagine to make sure that the content you write is answering questions. And that Google Keyword Planner tool I mentioned, they use that to be able to look to see if you're answering questions that are being commonly asked to help you rank. So you see how important that correlation is. Now, here is a tip that will help you when you're writing content. This was something that was sent to us by Mike Koenigs. He's a fantastic internet guy. He's out in California. We've been associated with Mike for 7 years. Terrific guy. And basically, he said, when you are writing content, imagine your mother has asked you a question that you are now answering with content on your web page. You'll always keep it simple. You'll always be answering in the best possible way. And by the way, just in case we didn't say it, all these notes, everything we talk about, Alex, how about the slides? All that stuff?
Yeah, it's all up
everything.
There. Well, what I'm doing right now is I'm probably going to take down, just so that everybody knows, I'm just going to take down the first set of slides. We had a couple of more people pop in to the group here. And as everybody knows, please continue to ask your questions. We like to keep these sessions a little bit more private. So there's a specific way that we target each and every one of you to make it so that these sessions are more beneficial to the actual viewer and the participant with the quality that we can provide. So that's why we like to target very specific and very certain groups of people. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take down that initial offer, or not offer, but those first slides.
Okay.
And then there's a couple other things that we're going to be posting throughout the webinar, including the part 2 slides here, just so that it makes it so, for your records, while you start to build your presence, you can actually follow along and make it so that you're not lost. Okay.
Excellent. Also, just so that you know, we're keeping these groups right now small and private. We're sending out invitations. You received an invitation probably by email. We also did some that were in Facebook based on our fan base. So we want to keep these small. We want to keep these involved. So that's the way we're going to go for the foreseeable future. Now, the next thing that we wanted to talk about, once again, going back on people asking questions, is what is quality SEO content? And I've broken this down into 4 quick, easy steps. So the first is the topics basically driven by genuine customer interest. So, you know how we talked about whenever somebody goes to a Google browser and they type in a group of key terms or long tail keywords, that series of words indicates that's a genuine interest. You want to be trying to focus on writing content that answers questions about genuine interest that your customers are thinking about. And that's how you make sure that when they type this stuff in, they find you. This is another reason why, like somebody that would be in the, and I'm going to pick somebody that's in the mortgage business. Mortgage, insurance, and something else are like the largest search terms. You know, the chance of somebody who is a smaller local business being able to rank highly for the term like mortgages is really going to be tough because you're competing with the really, really big companies. And that's not really where you're looking to compete, because they're looking to get millions of people coming through a sales funnel. You're looking to get a handful of really highly qualified people that are regional or local to you coming to you. And so that's what we want to focus on. Those long tail keywords help you to do that. We talked about that in some detail last week. But the genuine interest-driven searches are what your customers are going to help you to establish. Now, the second thing is, and we call this know thy niche. Now, you're a niche, or you're a niche business, you know. You might think of it in terms of a very broad statement. Since it's lunchtime, I want to use last week I used pizza, so today we're going to talk about ice cream. Now, maybe you're in the restaurant business. So you might think in terms of, if I was going to put a page on my website about our desserts, and we specialize in ice cream, maybe gelato or sorbet or something. Well, the term food would be too broad, it would be too large, and it wouldn't really be talking about the thing you want to talk about. So then you might niche that down a little bit and think, okay, I'll talk about desserts. Well, okay, but there's a lot of different desserts. You could even go so far as to think, well, all right, I'll think about ice cream. Okay, ice cream's a little bit better and it's helping you. But what if you specialize? There's a great restaurant in Washington, PA. Alex, I can't think of the name, but they make the best gelato I've ever had. Now that's something that's niche specific. If you want to attract that kind of an audience, and think of your own products this way, you know, you're niching down, but at the same time, you don't want to get too tiny in your niche that you're not attracting a big enough audience, but you also don't want to have it so broad that you're covering so many different people that you're just not getting quality people in. And I hope that makes sense. And just remember that ice cream, you know, definition, food to dessert to ice cream to gelato, as helping you to niche down while keeping that broad audience scope that you want to focus on. Now, the third thing we want to talk about is a big term that's going on in SEO right now, and it's called semantic search and concepts. Now, basically, let's keep this simple. What it means is it's understanding the searcher's intent. They may even be typing in a group of words because they don't know your industry as well as you do. But you want to make sure that you almost anticipate how they may be putting those words in, and then write content to help them funnel their way to you or channel their way to you. So that's this whole concept of semantic search and concepts. The best example that I could probably use, not knowing your business as well as you do, is, again, it's thinking about how the person who's sitting down behind their computer and saying, I need to buy whatever the product is you service, or I need to get a hold of it, or I need to get a quote on it, or whatever. Now, if they don't know the industry as well as you do, you probably know that from talking to customers over a long time. They may have terms they use that are kind of generic, that you know it's not specific enough. You've got to anticipate some of those things when you're writing your content. It'll help you significantly in your ranking. So just kind of keep that in mind. And if you have questions about any of this stuff, send us an email. Alex, do we have the email on the thing so they have our email?
Well, right now I have the chat up so that
Perfect.
they can get it better live, so we can answer their questions live right now. Good. But I have I will for sure at the end of the webinar post a way for everybody to get in touch with us immediately. And we actually had a very nice person take us up on our offer last week, or maybe it was a couple, but to actually get their SEO audit on their website. Mm-hmm. And we're in the process, and it's free, of course, but we're in the process of finishing that up right now. So she reached out to us that way, but like we said, you can either ask your questions here, yep, or ask them then whenever you have a little bit more time and maybe you've thought through some more questions for you. And
if they ask you a question, they just put it in the chat. Yeah. You get that, and then you address it, or you send it to me, and we can tell them live on the screen. Is that right? Good enough. Now, another question that we had last week, somebody asked the question about what exactly does constitute content on a web page? And this is that was a great question, because the four key areas that you want to focus on would be words, so your content, your text; images, which are still photos and photographs and images, graphics, what have you; then videos, and audios, because you may have an audio file that you put on a web page that also attaches to maybe your podcast. These 4 key areas, the great thing about all of them is you can optimize all of them. Now, they optimize differently, but you can optimize all of them. Today, we're talking about optimization for, of course, the written content. And this is the most important thing, because right now we're talking about your web pages. Now, there's 4, what we call the 4 V's as it sort of relates to content on your web pages. The first thing you want to think in terms of is volume. The amount of material that you write or that you publish about a topic is a huge indicator to Google as to just exactly how credible your knowledge is about a subject. They measure that stuff all the time. I always tell people, go into your website at least once a month. Go to that home page at the very least, and that's called your index page, and go in and make some type of a change, make an addition. Perhaps you're putting blogs up all the time. Maybe what you could do is on your home page is you could enter in the latest topic about your most recent blog, and just put the headline in there of what that is, and then make that a link to the blog itself on the blog page. Google loves that stuff. The moment that you make a change on your web page, it is an indicator to Google to then crawl the site again. Now, you can escalate that along a little bit, and that's a little bit more detailed. If you're really interested in how to do that, there's a ping signal. You can send us a question. We'll be happy to answer that for you. So the volume of content that you're placing, the more that you're adding, the more information you're doing, the more engaged you are with your website on an ongoing basis, the more value and credibility Google senses in that. You get better ranking. Now, the next word we use is velocity, okay? And that's kind of like the frequency of posting that you're doing onto specific pages. Now, don't confuse that with volume. The volume is the measurement of how much content is actually on your site. There's always been this big debate about, should I have a small website that's really, really tight and very authority-based, or do I want to have a voluminous website, huge, lots of pages, lots of information? I will tell you, Google likes the latter. They like more volume, more content, more information. The velocity is how frequently you're doing it. So you may post once a month, and that's good. It's probably more than 90-some% of the people out there are doing with their website. Be better if you did like a weekly blog post. Blog posts are perfect if they're between that 300 and 750 words, and they're very specific to something that's on your website that you're talking about. So once again, the credibility builders. The next word is variety. Covering a variety of areas that are within your niche that are all on your website. So once again, let's go back to the example of, food, dessert, ice cream, gelato. Well, maybe you have a page on your website, if you're a restaurant, that talks about your different desserts. You could also have a page that's off of that page, what we call starting to build a silo, that is about your gelato offering. So you might have a blog post that you do about your dessert page, and then you might have one about your gelato.
Hey, Joe, some people were curious to know before they got into the webinar. They've heard the term silo before, but they're not sure what that is.
Okay.
A lot of people see that as just being a drop-down menu, like a lot of people just see on a website. So they're saying, what's the difference that in case people didn't know, a silo actually is a structure that actually provides very dense and rich SEO capabilities and traffic generation. So maybe take a second and explain to them what.
I'll take a second. If somebody is actually very interested in that, we can talk about that. I would even go so far as if enough people said, we want to learn about silos, I'll do a webinar just about siloing. But as a very generic statement, it does kind of seem like it's more along the lines of a drop down, but it's much more than that. It's using a content of structured connections where, just think of it like this. Like if you had a main page that was lawn care, and then you had, let's say, 2 pages connected under that would be drop downs that might be services and equipment. And then under each of those, under services and under equipment, there are attached groups of pages that are very specific to that type of structure. So maybe under equipment, it would have lawn mowers, trimmers, edgers, pruning service, what have you. Each of those is very specific, but they lend to the topic of lawn equipment. And lawn equipment lends to the topic of lawn care. So that's kind of building and structuring a silo structure. And like I said, it's a little bit hard to explain right here, right now, but if you guys are interested in doing it, we'd be happy to do a lunch and learn segment, 30 minutes, where we'll talk about just how to create your silos. It's very important, it's very useful. So we'll do it that way instead of spending any more time on it. So now we were talking about variety, and that's kind of like in the whole idea of, you know, building that silo structure. But to keep it simple, you've got a group of menu items at the top of your, let's call it your home page, about what you do. And a lot of people will have it so that it's like home, about us, let's see, blog, services, and then contact us. Let's just say those are the 5 key terms. You might have 100 pages under each of those, which explain different things about each of those main topics. Well, that's kind of building on the variety. But the variety, once again, that's talking about and leading toward that key niche that is your business. All of this is about building credibility that tells Google just how wonderfully credible you are in this service that you want people to find you for. So once again, go back to that first thing that I said in the very beginning of today's session. You're always looking to have a conversation that's answering a question for the person who's sitting down at their computer writing, how do I find whatever product or service you do? The last piece of this is veracity, and it's called received well by the readers. So the information that you share with your readers, it's very important, because some of your readers may want to read material. Some of the people who are that are looking to do business with you, they may like to hear what you have to say or see it. So podcasts or videos or images. One of the things that Alex does really, really well, and instead of blowing sunshine up his skirt today, I'll just go ahead now and just say this, is creating infographics. And you've probably seen these. It's almost like a laddered effect of, you know, here's the key topic, then here's all the major steps that you want to make sure that you touch on. Well, that's an infographic. We have them on our website and our Pinterest page, right?
On our Pinterest page, yes.
Got it.
In terms of our website, we're actually having new infographics put into our membership site, so that that provides a little bit more of a SEO silo structure that we're kind of testing right now, as opposed to just having them outright on a page.
Sure.
But Jim actually wanted to know if we're going to be doing the a encore presentation or a replay of this whole series.
Yes.
And I told him that we had decided to internally to make the entire presentation live, along with giving along the slides, so that people can really start to sink their teeth into this.
Excellent. That's a very good point. Now, in terms of these,
he also says that you're passing on some great info, and thank you.
Well, thank you, Jim. I want to talk about one other thing too, and this isn't on the script, so I'm going off script here for a second, guys. We had a question that came up, or we talked about this a little bit last week, and somebody said, you know, how much is really involved in all this SEO stuff? It seems like it's so you know, crazy and wild and huge. It really isn't. It's a process of steps and strategic steps that you take. I actually wrote this paper like several months ago, because the Google algorithms, as they change, we try and stay up to date on that. And it's called the 23 key search marketing audit points. There's basically 23, some people call it 26, and it can actually do that, but 23 to 26 key areas on any web page, any website, no matter who you are, that you follow these steps, and that's what you're doing. Now, some of them can get a little bit technical, but you can get help with that if you need some help. A lot of them are things like we've been talking about, domains and keywords and content and such. And we're going to be talking about links next week, which are really, really important. But anybody who would be interested, since we're kind of getting toward the end of the session here, I want to talk about the freebies that we can do. Anybody that would be interested in seeing those 23 key points, we're happy to share that with you. Now, I don't think Alex is going to have that link up for this, so you probably need to send me an email. You can send it to bowtiejoe@gmail.com or jcubasek@mpemg.com. I'll get any of those, and I'll be happy to send that to you. Or next week, for the link session, what we'll do is we can make sure that we have that. You think we could have that available for people, Alex?
Yeah.
Okay, we could do that too. This is kind of important. It's not a bad idea for you to have this, because one of the things that we do for a lot of people is we do auditing. People will say, can you help us to figure out where we're okay and where we need some help or where we've got some mistakes? We can do all that stuff for you. The free service that we offered last week, and we'll continue that this week, is if you are interested, if you just send us either right now, you can send it to Alex, or you can send it to us by an email, and you just put in the subject line, free auditor analysis. We'll get in touch with you real quick. There's no money, no pressure, no credit cards, no anything like that. We'll put together the audit for you. We can send that to you. We can even take a few minutes and we can talk about it on the phone if you'd like, but just to show you some of the key things that you need to be focused on. Like I said, if there are technical things that you have, like you've got broken links, or you have content that's loading too slowly, which is hurting your rankings, your site, you may think your site is mobile. We had that happen this week. I talked to several people and they thought that because they could go on their phone or on their tablet and they could see their website, they thought that meant it was mobile optimized. No, that's not the case. Mobile optimized means that it is functional at all functional levels. It's readable. It's without having to move it around and move this piece over here and then expand this side. Then it's that mobile function. Google is actually beginning the process of de-indexing pages that are not mobile responsive. So you really want to be thinking about that. That's one of the things that the audit also does with the analysis. It tells them about mobilization.
Hey, Joe, can you explain de-indexing a little bit more?
Yes.
Some people have been wondering, does that mean I'm going to lose my site altogether?
Well, here, I'm going to give you a live example of somebody. We had a client that we were working with earlier this year. I'm trying to remember the month and I'm too old. I can't remember. Anyway, so we were talking to these folks. They're an engineering firm and nice people, very good operation, been around for 20 some years. And they had a very, very old website that the content was not optimized. It had flash files on it. Basically, it had everything going wrong for it, but it was because they had built it like 15, 20 years ago and they never did anything else. It just stayed there. And they thought because every year that they renewed their domain that it was going to be okay. Well, basically in like September of last year, Google made the announcement that it was really looking hard at the need for mobilization because more and more and more people every single day are moving to doing searches on their mobile devices, whether it's their phone or their tablet. Google is trying to help them with that. So they're saying, yo, everybody, you got to make sure that you have mobile responsive is the word they like to use, pages on your website.
Joe, did you feel cool saying yo?
I felt pretty cool. I really did. I really did. For any of my friends out there in Philadelphia, yo. Anyway, so the mobile responsive sites are hugely important. This company, I started to tell them about this months and months and months before the incident occurred. The incident being they did get de-indexed by Google. And so what happened was we started letting them know, hey, just keep in mind this could happen if Google catches up to this. They've already made it clear that they're going to start looking at this December 15th of 2015. And this was around April of 2016 now. I've been sending them notifications. Finally, it caught up to them and their site got de-indexed. And basically what happens is, if they were even, because they were the only company in the business that they did, they just got dropped completely back to the end of nowhere. And we all know that the end of nowhere is off of page 1 when it comes to Google search terms. So they got dropped so far back. And as a matter of fact, if you're beyond 100 in the ranking, it doesn't exist on the internet. They were beyond that. So literally speaking, their site no longer even existed. You couldn't even search on their domain. And so we don't want that to happen to anybody. We've blogged about this, we write about this, we talk about this all the time. Page speed, mobile responsive pages, making sure, more than keywords, Google wants content. They want content that's really important to the reader, to the listener. I had a really nice comment from somebody that listened last week and said they'd been a reader of ours for years. God bless you. It was really nice to hear that. They wanted to look at their website more closely, so we've helped them. They took us up and we did the free analysis for them. We're in the middle of doing that analysis right now. Anybody that wants to have that done, like we said, we made the offer, it's free. Next week, if you want that 23-point analysis, you can have it. Alex, is there anything else that I have missed or any other questions we can answer for anybody?
Well, what I'd like to do is, we have a couple of things and, some questions, and everybody with, thank you for your private messages and your public positive feedback. That I had just posted up into the chat box 3 quick ways to get a hold of us. The one was bowtiejoe@gmail.com, like you said, then jkubicek@mpemg.com, and then also I put up there our contact us page from the website. So we'll get all of those. But what I'd like to do is some people were asking about the slides, and they were also talking about that you were also giving them a lot of good content, but outside the slides as well. If some people would like to know a little bit more about some of these topics, please feel free to shoot us an email or a message from our website at any of those links that I just posted. What I'd like to do is I'd like to give the free offer that we did from last week about the online reputation PDF, and I'd like to discuss that for a couple of minutes while we have some people that are still from this select group that are still sitting on this call and engaging with us. I'd like to discuss that a little bit and give them a chance to see that again from last week. So it's up there now. So please feel free to take advantage of that.
Well, can I make since you just brought it up, you just made me think of something. Anyone who has not been to, and I think that if you go to our main website, which is MPEMG, Match Plus E Marketing Group.com, in different places you'd be able to see all of our different social media structures. Alex and his team have done a magnificent job of structuring all of our different social media. We've got a fantastic YouTube channel that goes into answering lots and lots of questions about many of the things that you might have. And I'm not trying to avoid talking with you. As you can tell, I'm happy to do that. But I do want you to have the opportunity, if you think about something and it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you think, oh, well, the session was earlier today. I just thought about this. If you go to our YouTube channel, there's a good chance that you're going to be able to find that specific topic by just going to YouTube and up in the search area, just type in Match Plus E Marketing Group. And there you're going to see that listing of all the different, there's got to be 100 or more videos there.
Well, those are also lead-ins to the programs on our membership site.
Oh, that's true.
And they're also insanely informative. We worked with our team and several people that we do work with around the world that have contributed to those videos. And they're very in-depth. So people that would like to look at those, and even anybody who wants to even know a little bit more about our membership site, obviously, please feel free to ask us. We're more than happy to talk about it. What I'd like to do is I obviously have that free online reputation bit up there right now, just so that we make sure that we get everybody the slides and whatnot. I want to go ahead and put up the slide 2 slides now. So I'm going to remove that. And also there was a poll question there that anybody, feel free to answer. It was about the 2/3 of all content is now going to be video based by 2018 and how that's going to work with SEO. But if people would like us to do an entire series on that as well, we also have a lot of great information that deals with that too.
Can I take a minute and talk about that? Since you brought it up, do we have time?
Yeah, we have
how
time.
far are we?
I mean, we're at 33 minutes right now. So, I mean,
last week we were 36. So I've got 3 minutes to answer this and stay
get it right.
Oh, okay, good enough. Alex just brought up an interesting point. As more and more goes along, people are becoming much more interested in video. So I want to take a minute and talk about this. Everybody that does video with us, and we have such a great video team. We really do. They come up with some fantastic things. You can see some of those once again at our YouTube channel. But one of the things that's important to understand is if you're going to do a video that you're going to put onto your website, and I so strongly encourage you to do that, but if you're going to do that, you want to make sure a couple things. Number one, the video should be longer than 45 seconds, probably longer than a minute, but no more than 3 minutes. And that's important because Google has a very specific structure that they go through for ranking these. And believe it or not, what they've determined and what statistics have been showing for a long time is people are interested for that first minute. If you've really, really got something that's captivating, they'll stay on maybe up to 2. You're pushing it if you go beyond that and start looking for that 3-minute mark. What you want to do is you want to encourage people with that information to want to hear what you have to say, but then to contact you if they want to learn more, and they will. Next thing, You want to make sure that you use different variables within your structures. You'll see if you go to once again, to our YouTube channel, you'll see whiteboard, where it's animated whiteboard. You'll see animated videos with characters, voiceover videos, what are called video sales letters, where basically it's PowerPoints with key information for you to read, but then a voiceover that's explaining everything. Those are very, very good because now people hear it and see it. And just about everything else. We have graphic, images. We have moving animated images and all types of things. Whatever it takes to get your audience to be able to listen and see and engage with you more is what you want to do. And video is definitely the way. You can rank videos better if you have, if on search results, when somebody types in for your product or service, basically what they've proven is that the search results that have a little video clip or a little image clip right next to them, even if they're a little bit lower down in the ranking, they get picked first because they have people like to watch or hear or see images or videos. So keep that in mind if you're thinking about that at all. Do you get another question?
I didn't get another question, but what I wanted to do was I also wanted to make mention to that a lot of algorithm changes happen, not just for search engines, but also for social as well.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be doing a webinar series that talks about the integration between those two, because a lot of social platforms are now having search engines built into them,
mm-hmm.
Such as Facebook, and those algorithms are changing all the time, just like Google's are. So we're just letting you guys know that we're going to be broadcasting a webinar series just based on that as well.
That's 2 weeks from now we start that, is that right?
2 or 3 weeks from now, yes. And of course, everybody, we're obviously going to be doing the broadcast, and we're going to be sending you information about the broadcast and the registrations, etc.
Good.
But in terms of if nobody else has any questions, this week we actually enabled some, we were doing some split testing for social posting purposes, but we noticed that we were getting a lot of private messages and public messages saying what great content this was.
Good deal.
Joe, so congratulations on the slides.
Well, thank you, everybody.
But what I want to point everyone towards is at the bottom right hand, right under the YouTube screen, or the YouTube icon under your screen, you're going to see a Facebook share button, and you're going to see a tweet share button. Please go feel free to share this with your social community, and if you liked it, we encourage you to head over to our Facebook page and to our Twitter page and give us a like
and leave a comment.
Tell
us your
thoughts. We'd love to hear from you on any platform.
Exactly. You can even talk about my bow tie if you'd like. That's perfectly fine. I understand.
Well, everybody does seem to like the bow tie, so I think you're solid there. If nobody else has any questions, Joe, do you want to leave off with anything? About next week?
One thing next week, really, really, really important one next week, is we're going to be talking about one of the things that every single person I think that's engaged with us for a long time asks about, and that is links, backlinks, internal links, what are good links, what are bad links, how to get them, how to get rid of them, all those types of things. We're going to talk about all that. It's really very important. It is so helpful to your web presence. The last thing I want to leave you with is our main website that you can go to at any time, and you can see all kinds of stuff, and you can connect to anything, and that's mpemg.com. Do you have that up on the...
I'm going to put that in there.
He's going to put that right there so you can do it. I hope everybody has an absolutely amazing day. I look forward to seeing you next week, and we thank you so much for being here. Have a great weekend.
Exactly. It's still going to be, it's going to be October 20th. It's going to be at noon just here. So please feel free to bring your sandwich, your coffee, or whatever. And we really appreciate your viewership and your readership. So please continue to engage with us. And don't forget to head over to our social pages and give us a little bit of a like.
We appreciate that very much.
And we will see you next week, guys.
Have a good one. Be cool. Have fun.